Welcome to Truth with Tara. I'm your host, Tara Simon, and today I have award-winning comedian and freestyle rapper Chris Turner on the show. Chris, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Chris, I have to admit, I found out about you through my boyfriend, and I would love to know, how do you most often get discovered by people? Because now, I mean, you're very well known, but when you first started, how was it like for you building a fan base?
I think the way people discover me, I mean, this is perhaps one of them. Perhaps someone listening now is like, I've never heard of this guy before. Ooh, he sounds British. Correct.
British, yes.
The internet, right? Social media, YouTube mainly, and that was probably where I started picking up attention really early on. I had like a really early video of mine. So when I was 20, and I started comedy when I was 19, and I'm 34 now.
Okay.
And I'm happy to just spin the age out there. My wife has a
Love it.
Wikipedia page, and on it says age, and it doesn't know her age. It's like age ? And it's like, we think she's born in the 90s, like, because her birth date isn't out there. And that's
fantastic.
well, yeah, that's not through purpose. She hasn't tried. Just no one in an interview will now ask you, when were you born, right?
Right.
So they're like,
it's rude.
They think, and I'm not going to say it. I don't want people to quote this and put it on our Wikipedia. You have to pick up context.
You're a smart
clues.
man.
Yeah, exactly. I would like to remain her husband, not ex-husband on the Wikipedia page. That would be sad.
That's right.
Because I don't have a Wikipedia page. I'm on my wife's Wikipedia page, but I'm not.
I tried to find you on Wikipedia, and I was like, "Why is he not?" I feel like you should have a Wikipedia.
I know
page,
there
Chris.
are way more Chris Turners on there who are less notable than me.
Deserving, indeed. I completely agree with you. Being someone who tried to find it, I'm like, "Who is this Chris Turner?" They don't deserve a Wikipedia page as much as this Chris Turner does. So let me ask you a question: when was it for you that you realized, this is my light bulb moment? I know that I'm supposed to be a comedian and a freestyle rapper, because you are so gifted in it. Like, I am so impressed by your improvisational skills, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. May or may not make you give me a little improv myself. But anyway, I really want to know, like, how did you figure that out about yourself?
I was doing comedy through university, and I'd done comedy through high school. I'd write sketches and do various little funny skits, but I was much more into music, and I was playing in bands, and I wasn't very good at that, but I liked it.
Okay.
And then after a couple of years of doing comedy at university, the guy who had like first kind of signed me to represent me said, you shouldn't like just go into the career that you were planning on, because I was planning on going into some whatever would get you money, some 6-figure London-based sales job. Which, I went to Oxford, and that's what mattered, right? That's what the companies wanted.
Absolutely. Wow. Very impressive. You're a smarty pants.
Oh, thank you. The moment was I'd gone to all these interviews for all these companies, and they were like, yeah, within 2 years, you can be making this much money. I was like, great, I'd love money. And then the guy who signed me had said, you should just give comedy a go, because you could make a living from this. I was like, but I won't make that much money. He goes, I will represent you until you make a living from this, and I won't charge you. I won't take anything. I think you're really good. And
extraordinary.
So that was the moment. And he's still my agent in the UK. He's still the guy who reps me and books my shows over there.
How did he discover you?
I was doing shows in Manchester, which is where I grew up, but I grew up in a different part of Manchester called Sale. And there were some comedians there who I really liked, and I found out they were all represented by the same guy. And I thought, well, this guy has good taste in comedy. So I asked one of them, would you recommend me to him? And he was like, I already have. And then he offered me a gig, and I went to that show. I did a 10-minute tryout set, and he said, I think you're really funny. I'd like to represent you. And I was like, yes, please.
I really love how the progression of success for you was, I really like this. I think I'm actually good at this. Maybe not so much music, but I think I'm actually good at this. I like it. I'm going to go do what I can with the opportunity that I can find on my own. And then from that kind of drive and forward movement, you then met this man who championed you at this young, impressionable age and said, you know what?
Impressionable. Gosh, you make it sound so sordid. You make it sound like he took me by the hand and led me into the mucky world of stand-up comedy. He was 20 years older than me.
Was he? Well, you know what? Even more so because he had the experience to see that diamond in the rough and was like, I'm going to put skin in the game for you.
Very
You know,
true.
you don't really see that a lot anymore. Like people are like, yeah, you know, like I have a retainer, I have this. And fair enough, you have to live, right? But the fact that he was like, I believe in you so much that I'll stick my neck out. I
Isn't it?
think a
It's
lot of
lovely.
people don't have that manager person in their life that are watching this, that they would love that opportunity for themselves.
I mean, that's the UK. The UK is different. It makes more sense to be an agent in the UK because an agent, we don't have that split between agents and managers. Now, I'm based in America, and I've been here for 8 years now, so I have a good
Okay.
grasp of it. But in the UK, you have your agent, and they take 15%, not 10%
Mm-hmm.
like in America, but they do everything. You also don't have
Mm.
your business manager or your entertainment lawyer. So in America, I'm sure
Mm.
people listening know, but it breaks out 10% to manager, 10% to agent, 5% to business manager, 5% to lawyer.
So, Chris, when you started, were you also freestyling? You mentioned that you wrote sketches. Was it scripted or was it freestyle at first?
So I'd always rapped. I was rapping from the age of 11 or 12, but that was always just as a fun thing for my friends because I went to an all boys school and we just roasted each other all the time. So it was like, make up a rap about
Mm.
him, make up a rap about this teacher. And in my kind of sketches, I might rap and write a song, but I'd rarely freestyle on stage. And I was doing improv comedy from the age of 18 and stand up from the age of 19. So
Wow.
my stand up was very different. And that was my first viral video, was a video of me doing 5 minutes of one-liners that back then Reddit was how you made things go viral, and it hit the front page of Reddit a
Mm.
bunch of times. And then about 3 years after that, so 4 years into my career, I was
Mm-hmm.
told by a kind of reviewer or person in the industry that I should do my rapping in my stand up set because I used to only rap in my kids' shows. I did like kids'
Mm-hmm.
shows to make a bit of money, and I would always make up songs for them because kids love songs. They'd much rather hear a song
Yeah,
than a story. And if you make up a song about
absolutely.
them, I'm just like, what's your name?
Winning.
My name's Max. What do you want to be? A race car driver. What's your favorite color? Green. Okay, this song's called Max's Green Race Car. And then you just do a rap about it. And you don't tell them it's a
Oh my
rap because they don't
gosh.
know what rap is. Well, at least back then,
Right.
right? Now, more
Sure.
ubiquitous. So started mixing them together. And that just kind of took me steps up the ladder because prior to that, I was just this person with 3-4 years of experience of stand up. But then
Mm-hmm.
a skill I had at least 10 years of experience with, the freestyle rapping, if not on stage, I brought that and people go, wow, he's good at this. And I
Mm.
kind of created that little, as we would say, niche, as you would say, niche,
Yes.
to be
I say
essentially the
niche.
only comedian who was freestyle rapping at that time.
It is a very interesting niche. I think it's something that's left of center that is enough to make people be like, cock their head and be like, I gotta at least try that out or listen to it. It seems like not just your average comedy show that you go to see. So there's this extra little spice to it that draws me in, to be honest. Also, there's this excitement behind the idea of improvisation,
Hmm.
especially when the audience has somewhat of control of the
Yeah.
topic that you're speaking of,
Yeah.
where you can't possibly have rehearsed that.
There's two really nice aspects to it that stand out to me, which is you have to see it live because the sheer number
Yes.
of people who see it online and then they go, that can't be real, and then they watch another video and another video and they're like, maybe this is real, maybe, and I'm
Yes.
like, it would be weird for me to write this many raps and pretend they were made up for this long without being found out. So
That's
you have to come
hilarious.
see it live, which is good because
Yeah.
there's that tendency to think of someone as the content creator on a phone or on a laptop or on a TV. You don't need to go
Hmm.
see them live, but I come from a music background. The bands I like, I want to see play live.
Live.
And
Yeah, for
then
sure.
kind of the subset of that is it gives you some, and this might be hubristic, some protection against artificial intelligence. Like what
Mm-hmm.
I do can be done by AI. You can say, Chat GPT, write me a rap about these ridiculous things, and it will.
Yes.
But
Yes. A
of course
bloody
it can do that.
computer. Yeah.
Whereas a
Hmm.
person doing it is different because we shouldn't be able to. Um,
Yes.
so that's good. But then the second aspect is people come to the shows knowing I'm going to do it, and so they're prepared. They've come ready to shout out something they want to rap about. And I've had people drive hours to see a show, and then they'll tell me, they're like, "Hey, I came all the way from, I had a guy fly in from Sydney to New York to see a show. Admittedly, he had other things to do over here as well. But he's like, I timed my trip to coincide with one of your big shows. And he's just like, I came all this way. Please take my suggestion. So I rapped about him. I just didn't rap about a guy coming from Sydney to see a show because that's preposterous.
I think it's amazing. And you know what? Totally worthwhile. I mean, and also he's pretty much guaranteed to get a yes from you. I mean, if you say you flew all that way, like you feel obliged to do something for him. I mean, I have to ask, Chris, because you're on, right? Would you do a freestyle rap for me?
Sure.
Yeah? Can I give you words?
You can. Let me find a little beat that we like. Lovely. Well, okay. I mean, what would you like a rap about?
How many words am I allowed?
5. I mean, I could do as many as we want, but 5 seems generous and the limit. More than that, and we'll be here all day.
Okay. All right. So why don't we just stay on topic? Let's do Tara Simon Studios. Singing.
Great.
Vocal coaching. Pasta.
What type of pasta?
Rigatoni.
Which one's that one?
I don't know. It's the first thing that came in my mind.
Cheers for that as well. Maybe it's much harder to rhyme.
I figured. That's the outlier, okay? And then stage. Rigatoni's the outlier.
Great. So I will say this. I'm going to pronounce pasta, and Tara. This is a huge bugbear with my wife's best friend, Clara, who's like, no, that's not my name. My name is Clara. I'm like, nah, I can't say that. I can't say it. Doesn't work.
I can't, and I won't.
Exactly. There we go. You said it would come out. Well, this is a freestyle. That's a rap made up on the spot about all those things. About Tara Simon Studio, singing, vocal coaching, pasta, and the stage. All made up on the spot. Not written, not prepared, not rehearsed. Much better than an AI, and it's coming straight off the top of the dome right now. Let's do this.
I'm so excited.
You won't believe the skills we be bringing. He rapping. He's singing, nah, scratch that, flip it back, I boast. Let me make sure it comes from the throat. You can get the coaching, gotta get the glottal stop. Make sure your little vocal cords moving up a lot and down. Get the pitch sliding, singing inside in, gotta have pride in. Hey, vocal coach is the one with the most. Tara on the screen there, yeah. The rest of toast is basically something go berserk. It's like the Tara Simon Studios advert. You can stick this online, she be reacting, raising that eye line like, oh, yeah, you know I'm on, rapping about Simons, yeah. I want a tasty little thing after a day, had a long, hard day, acting up on the stage. I need to make sure that I get myself fueled inside it, and so I get my carbohydrate. I can't hide it, that's the lust that be hitting me. I want the nice little flour from Italy, 00, yeah, I'm keener, gotta mix it up at home, the semolina, you know I want my nonna pasta. I asked her for the recipe, she be saying, nah, you'll never get that from me, a tiny bambino, can't do. Is this offensive, what I'm trying to do, running through? Yeah, you know, you show me, if I was on stage I would win the Tony and an Emmy and an Oscar and a Golden Globe, but that's the rigatoni pasta rap that everybody knows. Look.
Oh my gosh.
Technically, I didn't rhyme rigatoni. I fitted it in there. It was an assonance. It was an internal rhyme.
I am laughing so hard I'm almost crying. Chris, I just can't believe. I mean, I was going to be happy with just pasta. You literally said rigatoni. Oh my gosh. So how in the heck do you do that?
It's like a flow state. It's like a meditative thing, and you just trust that when the beat hits, like a lot of people think when I'm getting the words, I'm thinking of what I'll rhyme with them or what I'll rap about, but I'm not. I only rap when the beat hits, and that's the difference between someone who's been freestyling for 22 years and 2 years. 2 years you're thinking ahead. 22 years it's just in the bones, and you just, you know, I'm not reusing rhymes. I mean, I'm sure I've rapped about several of those things before, but I'd never reuse them.
So if there were no beat, do you think like your reticulated activating system would still remember like the pattern of trust that you have in yourself?
I mean, you can do it without a beat. It just doesn't sound as good. But I have done stuff without a beat as well. I just kind of brand that poetry.
It's really about trust is what you're saying.
trust in yourself and knowing you can do it, because if you doubt it, it will fail. So I've done various like tricks before. If it's a big important gig, like when I did the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, that was like high pressure, because one, no British comedian's ever done it before. Two, no one's ever improvised on it before. And three, the producers were like, we're putting you on like in the perfect position to get a standing ovation, so you better get it. And I was like, all right.
Oh, no pressure at all.
Yeah, they shouldn't have told me that. And
no.
So I rapped to that beat for like the week before, so that I knew the beat I was going to use, rather than what I do now, which is I kind of mix it up every weekend. I do like 15 shows over the weekend, so I'll use a lot of different
15 shows.
This weekend at the Comedy Cellar, we did 8 on Friday and 9 on Saturday. So that's
how 17. Long is a show?
That's the Comedy Cellar, so you're just doing about 15-minute spots.
Okay, all right. That's still a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
Now, did you get the standing ovation on Stephen Colbert?
I did. And then when they aired it, they cut away, so you don't see it. But I do have the clip. I turned it into a GIF so I could share it when anyone disputed. People were like, you said you got a standing ovation. I don't see it. And I'm like, here it is. Boom.
Hold my mic. Stephen Colbert, that's crazy. And actually, you and I have something in common. We both performed at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. But I did, like, back in high school, it was singing, obviously, not freestyle rapping.
Did you do Into the Woods? What did you do?
I did not do Into the Woods. I did a solo, actually.
Oh, great.
I don't even remember the song.
Every American high school that comes to the Edinburgh Fringe does Into the Woods.
You're not wrong. And in fact, the year before we went, that was the High School Musical year, was like Into the Woods. That was the musical that was chosen.
It's not the Edinburgh Fringe without annoying, loud Americans giving out flyers going, a new production of Into the Woods. You're like, oh, nah, mate, we've already seen it. Thanks.
Like literally last year. That's so funny. That's very interesting, actually. There's these sort of like predictions, from the other side of the pond of like what Americans do. And then to find that you're not wrong is just like worse for us, but very affirming for you.
And that's what I like playing with that. When I come on stage, at the Comedy Cellar, I'll make a joke about being, the English guy on the show and what they can expect from me. And it's fun that I then give them a bit of that. Because, when I'm doing a Comedy Cellar set, I'm the first 7 minutes, 8 minutes are just jokes and stories. And then I kind of segue into the freestyle, and I might do what we did where I say, I'm going to rap and I get the suggestions, or I might just do crowd work that then turns into a rap. So I'll chat to some people, get some facts, and then the beat drops and people go, wait, what? And then I'm rapping. And I like that I come on with this preconceived notion of what an English comedian is. And then they leave the stage. They're like, wait, he's more American than any of us. He just freestyled. Wow. And that is very funny to me. That's, one of the little, because you have to find those own little bits in your own work that make you chuckle. And I like people's faces. I love the face difference between the start of the rap and the end of the rap. When I start rapping, I love that people sit there and they just look like, this is the worst thing we're ever going to see. And at the end of it, they're like, oh, that was great.
Speaking of like the dichotomy, right? What about the dichotomy of underground freestyle rapping? Because there's a big like stigma around underground rapping and the roughness and the language and the persona even of someone who does like underground freestyle rapping. And I can just imagine you coming into that.
I don't know if that exists though. I mean, freestyle rapping is maybe rap battles. It might be that we're thinking of rap battles here, which are written and scripted. Like no one freestyles. No one can do it anymore. And one of the things that brings me joy is I'll do a show and then someone in New York will say, hey, I grew up rapping. Like one of the hosts at the comedy shows is like, he grew up in East New York. He used to freestyle in the corridors of his building with all the other guys there who wanted to be rappers. And for him, he's like, watching you do it is annoying because I can't do that. I mean, he literally says it. He's like, how can a white British guy freestyle better than me? But
wow.
like now no one has that skill. It's very rare. It's much more people write raps. They are rap battle leagues, right? And obviously there's people in them who are brilliant and people who in them who are brilliant freestylers, because there are aspects of battle rap where you freestyle, right? The rebuttal. I don't know enough about the scene because I don't battle rap, because I don't write raps, and I also don't like confrontation. So doesn't matter how good I am at freestyling. I'd probably lose a battle because the other person would be like, blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, whoa, why are you so angry? Who hurt you?
Right.
Can't we just be
Right.
nice? I think you're really good. Can't you just say I'm
Right,
really
yeah.
good?
You're not confrontational at all. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, which is which is interesting. And it's interesting to hear you say that that's kind of not a thing and that the beginning of it is scripted. I did not know that.
Yeah. No,
Mm.
people, the term freestyle is now used to mean a verse that is delivered not as part of a song, like over a random beat. So loads of rappers will post a freestyle and it's not improvised.
So, Chris, I want to get into the business side of what you do because I think that you're quite an anomaly in the fact that you're very creative, you're very entertaining, but you're also very smart and you have kind of branched your fingers in the entertainment brand that you've created into multiple different facets. You have a game. I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. You have an improvisational troupe. Of course, you've won awards for what you're doing, but actually, instead of becoming a quote unquote signed artist to a label or releasing things and doing a lot of concerts and shows and trying to piggyback on that, you've actually created a business around this where you're doing great, amazing work within the corporate sector and still doing shows, but it's really more on that side of things. So tell me a little bit about leveraging what you've done on a business side.
So I do a lot of corporate work because that pays the bills and I'm good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
in the comedy world, it's hard to do corporate gigs because people are like, if you're not famous, they're like, why aren't you famous? And if you are famous, they're like, well, are you that funny? Because what I do is so different, it's something they've never seen before. It's surprising. And also because
Yeah.
I'm not famous, I'm quite good value. I really do like doing them because I find them challenging. And when there's a
Mm.
challenge, that's when a flow state happens, and that's when your brain gives you the best reps. So actually, some of the best
Interesting.
reps are ones with the highest level of adrenaline and challenge. So that's the corporate
Okay.
side. Other stuff, comedy is different to music, it's different to acting. I think you run all your own stuff. Like I have producers, I have promoters that I work with, but then so much of my stuff I do is fringe based. So fringe festivals like Edinburgh, fringe festivals in
Mm-hmm.
Australia or Orlando. And I
Sure.
produce those mostly myself because I've been producing fringe shows since I was 19. So I know how to
Mm.
do them. And it's
Yes.
actually quite, it just becomes rote. You just do it.
Yeah.
And that way you make more money. And
Yep.
you have control because no one else cares as much about how your poster looks than you do. And
So true.
for me, that's the most important thing is the whole package. And then, yeah, I have a game. I mean, I kind of, I don't turn down opportunities that I think will fit me. And that one
Mm-hmm.
was DK, who are a branch of Penguin Random House who make games. Essentially,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a card game. I describe it as Cards Against Humanity meets freestyle rap. It's called
So
Rap
cool.
Battles, and we released it just before Christmas last year. They approached me saying, "Hey, we want a rap card game. We want it to be a freestyle game, and you sit at that intersection of freestyle rap and comedy. And obviously, these games have to be funny." And they just said, "Can you design a freestyle rap card game?" I was like, "Okay, what are your ideas?" They're like, "No, no, you make it." I was like, "Oh, well, I just get to make it? Great." So I designed it.
Wow.
We put it out.
How did you go about doing that? Like, I mean, it's one thing to perform and to do that for yourself, right? In your mind, you talk about that flow state and that trust within yourself when the beat drops. But how on earth do you translate that into a card game that anybody could buy and play?
Yeah, and that's the aim. The aim is for anyone to play it. The aim is for grandma to be rap battling, you know, a hip hop head who's, got a lot of experience. And I think the game
Come
works in that
on.
way. I just thought, well, what's the least scaffolding, the least framework you need to be able to do the core of freestyle, which is the rhyming. This is the game. 5 cards in your hand, and the card is the start of a line. So it might just be like, you can't mess with me, dot, 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 I'm ready to win, dot, 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 dot. Yeah, you think I was born yesterday, dot, dot, dot. And then,
Okay, okay.
so that's going to start your line. And then in the middle of the
Yeah.
table, you just flip over one card, and that card has 3 words on. And depending on how confident you are or skilled you are, you're going to rhyme one of those words. And there's always an easy word, a medium word, and a hard word. So it might be, broom, yogurt, and Diplodocus. And so
Okay.
it's your turn. You're going to rhyme this card. So you pick the card and you just go, you think I was born yesterday? Nah, I've done a lot of this. I'm a monster. You can call me Diplodocus. And then
I knew you were going to choose the hardest
you
one.
just you just do that. And then it's kind of up to your opponent as to whether that's allowed. Like, if you were doing a rap battle, the crowd react to your line, right? The crowd are going to be like, oh, or they'll be like, nah. So
right.
if I'm playing my friends, they know I'm good. So if I do a rhyme and they go, nah, I don't get the card. I don't get the point. But if your nan's playing it and she's like, you think I was born yesterday? I finish with a boom. I sweep up the competition. Just hand me that broom. Everyone's going to be like, wah!
Yeah.
So Granny can then win. Granny can beat me.
Wow. I'm literally going to go after I'm done filming today. I'm going to buy that thing because I feel a little bit of hope that I could possibly, too, become some sort of freestyle rapper after. I feel like it's almost practice. Like it exercises that part of your brain. What a creative idea for a game. I never would have thought that you could turn what you do, which is so niche, into something that is so for the masses and gamified at the same time.
It's nice.
That's
It's
absolutely
also,
fascinating.
I mean, from a business side, it's good merch. Like I take them on the road. Obviously, I buy them at wholesale pricing. I take them on the road. Yep. I sell them after shows, signed with a free sticker. It's something different to a T-shirt or a hat that you can sell your audience, which in comedy is such a big thing, in music is such a big thing.
So big, yeah. You're selling an experience really by them taking that away. They can really take a piece of that experience back with them as they play the game anytime. That's so cool. And see, that's what I think is really the most impressive about you. Although what you do in and of itself is extremely impressive, and I really would love to know how to do it myself. But the fact that you have truly kind of diversified and leveraged your brand into these different facets is very fascinating to me. And I'd love to know from you, what do you find now at this stage of your career most rewarding? Because as you do things over and over and repeat them, like the revenue generated from the game, revenue generated from corporate and from other areas like your improv troupe, what do you find now that you're leaning into the most, that you enjoy, and that is also kind of financially rewarding? Or is the thing you love the most not as financially rewarding?
So I started doing corporate gigs in 2013, and part of that was to make money so I could do stuff that was fun but didn't make money. And I'm still doing that. So the thing I'm most excited by at the moment is the new show I'm working on, which is called Childish, and that's the one that I'm touring to Adelaide and Orlando and Edinburgh, because it's a musical comedy show. So it's me.
Wow.
And then it's a drummer and a keyboardist, and I play guitar. And it is like, think of, Bo Burnham, but he's got a band, or Tim Minchin or Bill Bailey or any of these great musical comedians, but they've got a band, or Flight of the Conchords, but it's one of them. And it's that vibe, the show. I'm coming out, I'm doing a song, bit of joke, another song. And it's really fun. And my main critic, who is my wife, has seen a preview of it, and she was like, that was way better than anything you've ever done. I'm like, well, that's good. I just want to do shows that entertain me as well as the audience and push me as an artist. So I never sang before about a year ago. And then with this show, I was like, well, I can't just do rap songs throughout the whole show. And obviously there's freestyle rap in it. But the draw of this show can't be the freestyle rap, because if you want to make a mainstream piece of entertainment, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, I mean that like if you want to make like Avenue Q is a mainstream piece of entertainment, even though it's
absolutely
quite adult.
Yes.
If you want, you can't say this unless you're Hamilton, right? And that's the one time you can't say this is the rap musical. You go, oh, well, he's a rap musical comedian. Well, 90% of people don't want to go see that. Whereas if you go, oh, he's a musical comedian, more people want to see that. So the rap is smuggled in and is therefore more impressive. Because if you don't know I'm freestyling and then I start freestyling in the middle of the show, you're like, wait, what? How can he do that as well? So I started learning to sing, started learning to move a bit better, started learning to play instruments better and songwrite. and the show's shaping up nicely. As I say
That's so
to audiences who see
exciting.
it, it's not going to be off Broadway for a year and a half, so it's got a year and a half to get really good.
Okay. I love that that's your trajectory though. And I so appreciate your humility and your transparency when you say that, like, look, I'm at this level right now and yet I'm still bankrolling dreams here with something that I like to do but that I need to do to bankroll this thing that
Mm.
is really more or less what I'm most interested in. And I love that because I think there's this perception for our viewers and listeners on this podcast that when they're watching someone like you or someone like me or anybody else that I have on here, that they've arrived or that they've made it and that they're just able to do whatever they want to do. They grab this and they take it. They grab this and they take it. But the fact of the matter is, you're sort of doing your due diligence in one area with your talent to then plant seeds in another area that's more passion that you have bigger vision for later. And it takes money to do that. And so
Yeah.
your ingenuity and resourcefulness within your brand to leverage over here to bring over to here is actually really admirable. And I love that.
Well, I mean, the money you make should be invested in all sorts of things, and one of those things has to be
Yeah.
you and your career. And that I make money so I can live in the world, and I have
Yes.
a child, and I live in New York. And
Oh.
gosh, no one tells you. No, they do tell you, but no one tells you how unfathomably expensive having a child in New York is. Because you're like, you think you know what
Yes.
babysitters cost. Not until you try to find one on a cold weekend in New York.
I lived up there for 4 years, so I can imagine how much more expensive it's gotten since I lived there. But even when I did, it was just unbelievable. I always used to joke and say New York is one of the only places in the world that you can work your butt off all your life, live and die, and all of your belongings can be packed up in a matter of 2 hours. It's insane. I want to go back real quick though, because you said something interesting. And as a vocal coach, I can't let it go. I can't move on. You said you're going to be singing more and you're learning how to sing now. Tell me more about that.
I've always sung in improv shows, and I'm not a particularly natural singer. I have decent rhythm from the rap.
Okay.
And I know how songs should go. Whether I can nail that is difficult. So one of the challenges with this show was working with the tool I have, which is my voice, working to improve that tool, but primarily working within the limitations of it, because I'm never going to be a Broadway singer. I'm never even going to be close to that, like if someone who'd get an audition. So what I do with my songs is when I'm writing, like one of my favorite songs in this show is an 80s song. And so I know that when I sing that, it's like heavily vocoded, the effects on it, it's more spoken than sung. I know there's a country song in the show, and I write that in my range. And when I work with my songwriters, sometimes we wrote a Blink-182 style song about wanting to be an astronaut, because the show is about childhood dreams and following, what you had because I mean, that's for me.
Oh, I love that.
What I can put out into the world is I wanted to be a comedian and a rapper and a rock star. Those were like the things I wanted when I was a kid. And I get to do that now, and that's really cool. So I want to kind of speak to adults to be like, look, inspire your kids, because it was my dad who was like, no, follow these dreams, but also remember what you wanted as a kid and maybe try and bring some of that back into your day-to-day life. I think that's a nice message to put out there.
Such a great message to put out there.
So we wrote this Blink-182 song, and then I was like, wait a minute, I can't sing this. I'm like, no, it's just being like, I'm like, no, I can't. I actually can't do that. Like,
I can't.
I just can't do it. We're like, fine, cool. And then you can't write a Blink-182 song, even in their kind of sad ones. They're like, where are you? And I'm so sorry. And you're like, well, oh gosh, see, can't do it. It's going to take some time before I get there. There are songs in the show that I've written, and I rely heavily on my musical director, who's my backing vocalist. I rely on him being a really good singer. And luckily for the Australian tour, the drummer is also a really good singer. I'm like, just on this song, can we turn their mics up, please? I'll be more of the the band leader. I'll be there like, come on, guys, give it up. Oh! And then they're hitting like the kind of...
That's called sweetener vocals.
Great.
Or if it's instrumental, bed music, right? But yeah, there's something cool that happens to voices when they know they've got backup too. Like you probably even sound better knowing that you're not singing it alone.
Oh, definitely. Definitely, yeah. And
Very
that's confidence as well, right? Like
Yes.
if I get lost in the song, the song is so much better than if in my head I'm like, oh, here comes this really difficult note.
Right. So, Chris, if there's one thing that you could change about your industry, what would it be?
I wish we didn't have to rely so much on a kind of constant creation of content to get people to the shows. But it used to be you do a couple of TV spots and you can sell out your tour. And now that means nothing. And that's purely selfish for me because I have not put out short form content. It's a thing that I will start doing because you have to. But
you do. You really do.
As a comedian, I do not work in a short form medium. If I'm doing a song, it's 3 minutes. If I'm doing a rap, it's 8 minutes with the kind of crowd work. If I'm doing a show, it's 15 minutes to 75 minutes.
Right.
And the fact that you have to put out these little bits of bait, these 15-second clips to get people to eventually want to watch an hour special.
Right.
It used to be you do your 20 minutes on Comedy Central, you do a Netflix half hour, and that's not how it works anymore. And I think it potentially leads to a lower quality because people are more focused on writing short things rather than good things. But it also leads to lots of good stuff that comes out of it, and I'm just bitter that it's not something I do.
Well, I think it does. There are some creators and entertainers even that it really highly benefits. But there are others where it's just like, I'm going to diminish the quality of my work in order to fit into this time medium. And I really believe that the time medium is simply because we, as just a global whole, have completely lost our attention spans. I mean, we've always wanted instant gratification, but we're on a whole other level of like the attention span of the embryo of a goldfish these days.
And it's unfortunate that you've made this statement so late into the podcast that none of them will hear it.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. Yeah. I mean, I do not pander clearly to the lack of attention span. I feel that, people who watch this, they're the OGs, right? The ones that really still value long form and also learning something over time and ingesting things in the proper amount of time instead of this just McDonald's fast food version that unfortunately you do sometimes have to pander to in order to gain those audience members. Because I will say this, for me, I release so many shorts a week. It's ridiculous. Like I'm always behind a camera. But I have to say that if the algorithm does decide to push that, even though it's a different type of subscriber or fan, like I don't think they're as dedicated of a fan as someone who would be watching all of this podcast, which by the way, thank you guys. If you're still here, I love you. But I do feel that there are still some in there that turn into really
definitely
valuable
you
fans
and
happen. Ones that we serve.
You can... one viral clip is not going to bring you the fan base. It's the kind of, it's the repeat custom. And there are people who do it who are really, really good. There are comedians who put out short form clips and then I watch their hour and I go, oh, you're brilliant. You're just also good at this. And I'm just jealous that I'm not good at that as well.
I'm just bitter and jealous. So Chris, we're going to do a lightning round of questions, rapid fire. You're going to have 5 seconds or less to answer. I'm sure you're going to do great on this because you're an improv guy and that's like your wheelhouse. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Favorite TV show?
I'm currently watching Severance, which I'm enjoying, but favorite TV show of all time? All time. There's so much good TV. And it's so boring to just be like, oh, Breaking Bad and Mad Men and, The Sopranos.
They're really good, though.
They are all really good, aren't they? But I mean, to be British, Line of Duty. Line of Duty is really good. I don't know if Americans watch that, but that's got like 6 seasons, and it's really good.
Mm-hmm. I've not watched it all, but I do agree that is pretty great. I need to finish it. Okay, favorite season of the year?
Autumn, because we say it differently in our countries. Yeah. Yes. No, autumn is lovely, isn't it? Especially in New York, it's really good. And then even when I lived in LA, it was nice because it wasn't too hot. I don't like the sun and I don't like the cold, so autumn. But I'm also
You're right in there.
colorblind. So when people are like, look at the fall colors, I'm like, I'm sure they're very pretty.
Oh my gosh. That's something I did not know about you. Interesting. You're colorblind.
Stick that on the Wikipedia page.
What's your favorite food?
I love pizza. Pizza's just the best food. So that's not why I live in New York, but it's a huge bonus. Oh,
absolutely.
Just, it's so good. It's so good. Like, it really is. You can't make pizza better. It's just the best. Okay. Whenever they're like, oh, let's stuff the crust with more stuff, I'm like, no, stop it. It's great as it is.
Right. What's your guilty pleasure? Maybe it's the pizza.
Guilty pleasure. Again, I don't feel guilty about a lot of the stuff I take pleasure in. I really, really like whiskey. I don't feel guilty about it, but I guess, in terms of like health and well-being,
right.
I should. I really, really, I spend a lot of money on whiskey. I have a really nice collection. And if you ever see me out and about and you want to have a chat for a while, like anyone listening, just buy me some nice whiskey, preferably some Islay single malt from Scotland, or any type of fancy cask strength single barrel bourbon. I'll be your friend.
Okay, guys, you heard it from Chris's mouth. Get him some whiskey. Is it better to ask for permission or beg for forgiveness?
I think if you would like lasting friendships and relationships, you should ask for permission. If you are a corporate performer, you should do your act and then deal with the consequences if they don't like it afterwards. I did a show with some people who were like, oh, we're not allowed to use our chainsaws in the act. I was like, why did you ask them? Just use the chainsaws and people will be like, hey, that was amazing.
Right. And then, sorry, we broke code.
Yeah. Sorry, we used a chainsaw.
Yeah, you don't ask for that. That's their fault. What are you really curious about?
I mean, there's not one thing. One of the things I like is people always go, how do you know so much? When you're rapping, how do you know to put all this stuff in? And it's just, if I don't know what something is, I'll go and look it up and I kind of just try and absorb it, just sponge it up. Stuff I'm curious about at the moment. Songwriting specifically, like how is Max Martin so good at what he does? That's interesting. I'm curious about, I've been thinking a lot recently about perfect burger composition, which is something I've thought about a lot over my life, but I had a really good burger that kind of went against one of my burger kind of thoughts recently, and it made me rethink some old prejudices. Burger's my second favorite food, by the way.
You've really thought about this hard.
I think about burgers a lot. I have a constantly updating top 10 in my head, and
wow.
I've offended several chefs because I've gone, you're number 3 on the list, and they're like, what? I'm like, you couldn't possibly think your burger was number 1. And this is the way I say it. Someone told me once, they go, I've seen 107 shows this Edinburgh Fringe. You're my 13th favorite. And I was like, thank you so much. That's really nice. I was like, wait, all comedy? He's like, no, across all genres. I was like, well, that's even better. Someone told me, I have lots of autistic fans. They were like, you're my 3rd favorite comedian. I was like, great. That's so kind. If you said I was your favorite comedian, I'd be like, what's wrong with you? Have you not seen these other comedians who are really good? So yeah,
love it.
When I say you're my 3rd favorite burger, that's high praise. I've had burgers all over the world.
You are a burger aficionado.
I am, yeah.
Are you reading a current book right now that you love?
I'm about to read my wife's next draft of her new book. So that's exciting. That's called Worship.
Nice.
That's going to be out at some point soon. Her current book is called In Memoriam, which is great, and everyone should read. It's about 2 best friends sign up to fight in World War One, and it's really good. I mean, it won a ton of awards and sold so many copies.
How cool!
But I just finished reading Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor, which is, there's a Netflix film about it, but the book is hard to recommend because it's brilliant, but it's disgusting and horrible and gross and sickening. But it's really good. And written by a woman, so not gratuitous in the way that, like, American Psycho is gross, but it's like also written by a man. You're like, you're a bit of a weirdo. Whereas this is written by a woman, and you go, oh, this is just what life is like in this Mexican town. So Hurricane Season, really good, definitely worth reading. And I'm currently the one I'm in the middle of is Super Infinite, which is Catherine Rundell's biography of John Donne, who is a very famous British poet from 400 years ago. And it's really interesting, even if you don't know who he is or don't care about poetry. He had a very interesting life, and she clearly is in love with the man. So,
if someone were to break into your phone right now, like if I were to, what would be your most highly Googled topic?
My most highly Googled topic, and my most highly Googled topic would be my wife's name, because I am constantly looking for all the articles that get written about her, because then I just kind of read them, and if people say mean things, then I'll kind of tell her, hey, don't click on that link, because she also likes to, see what people are saying, because 99% of the time it's nice stuff. People like her book.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of her, because we met 10 years ago, and she was like, I want to be a writer. And I was like, you should be a writer. She goes, but how will I earn money? And I said, no, it's all right. I'll earn the money. You write the books. And she wrote 4 books. And eventually the 4th one was the one that got published and became the hit that it was. So she makes me very proud.
I love that. You're such a good husband.
I mean, she's such a good wife, so I should only repay it.
That's so sweet. I love that. That's wonderful. So if you, and I'll include your wife on this, if you and your wife had to be a Disney character, who would you guys be?
She would say Prince Eric and Ariel from The Little Mermaid. We've done that for Halloween.
Love it.
And I would say, and I'm not going to be an idiot and be like, well, technically Marvel is Disney, so I'm going to be Iron Man because that's cool. Who would I want? I mean, my favorite Disney is Aladdin, Lion King, the top 2. I'd probably be Genie. Genie's because Robin Williams is so funny, and he's having a great time. He's just making people's dreams come true. So
yes, I can so see you relating to that character. Actually, that's a very good choice for you.
And then if not that, Iago, just because I love getting crackers stuffed in my face by elderly sultans.
Yes, Iago was one of my favorites in that movie too. Yeah,
and then
definitely comedy relief.
So if we're separate like that, my wife wouldn't want to be Ariel if I wasn't Eric, so she would be Belle. But Belle from the animated one, not the live action, because I know that she didn't like the dresses in the live action one. She thought they were. I
didn't either.
Yeah, because I know that Emma Watson was like, "Oh, I've made them sustainable. We're making them kind of sustainable fabrics and fashion," and it's like, but they don't look as good. And this is a princess movie. The princess wouldn't care. The princess would be like, "This is made from the wings of 1,000 endangered sparrows."
Okay, last question, Chris. You're dropped into a city. Besides your cell phone, what do you have to have?
Laptop, because I don't like doing work on just my phone. Love sitting down with my laptop and doing work. I need.
You only get one thing. There's no more. You only get the laptop.
Oh, well, I mean, laptop.
Yeah.
Then.
If there's anything that you could tell our audience today in regards to maybe following their dreams or anything that you may not have said that you've learned along the way, what would it be?
I mean, a thing that used to not do well for me in LA was that people would go, "So what's your goal?" You'd have a general meeting. They'd be like, "What's your goal? What do you want to do with all this?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" They go, "What do you want to do?" I was like, No. When I graduated university, I wanted to make a living doing comedy. And I was doing that within 3 years. And I still do that.
So good.
And obviously, your living standards change and you need more money and blah, 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 blah. And so I'm happy doing that. And as long as, I'm not of the type of comedian who just has to be on stage every night. I have to be on stage every week. Otherwise I do get a bit sad. The thing I care about most is my family. So I'm happy being off the road, hanging out at home for 4 months and working on stuff and then going out and doing shows. So I think there's that, and it's very Buddhist, right? But you don't need to constantly be wanting the next thing or looking at the people above you and going, why are they there and I'm not here? It's like, well, it has nothing to do with you. Their position has no bearing on yours. And there's so much room for everyone. So I think it's just good to actually think what you want in a very functional way, and
Mm-hmm.
making a living doing art is such a hard thing to achieve. And we're very
Mm-hmm.
lucky if we get to.
Yes.
And I think a lot of artists go, but what's next? And I see people, who've been doing it for a long time getting depressed, and they're like, oh, but I never made it. You're like, what do you mean you never
Mm.
made it?
Yeah, what is that anyway?
You are, like, this is, for my example, you're living in New York doing stand-up comedy. What? That sounds
You've
like
made
making
it.
it to me. And so
Yeah.
I always try and remember what I wanted when I was little. And
Mm.
before I even wanted to do comedy, all I wanted was to stay up as late as I wanted and to play video games whenever I want. And I can do that. So
I
I've
could
already
do
made
that
that.
now.
Even if I can't do comedy anymore, great. I can stay up to when I want and play video games. So
Yes.
remember what you wanted. And
Mm.
if you get it, celebrate that.
Love that.
And don't always be looking, oh, but why didn't I get this or why didn't I do that? Because that's not going to make you happy, is it? And I think,
Glass half empty is way worse of a perspective than glass half full.
definitely, because the glass is probably full if you just get the right size glass. Stop picking out the massive glass and saying, why is this so empty?
Yes, I love that. Pick a good glass. That's so good. So, Chris, thank you so much for being on today. You were an absolute pleasure. And I know that our audience really gleaned a lot of wisdom as well as entertainment from you. Thank you so much for freestyling in the middle of this. That was such a treat for me. Definitely going to turn that into a short if you don't. God bless you in all that you do. And I hope that your shows just continue to grow.
Obviously, all those details are at christurnercomedy.com. Or if you forget,
Yes.
britishcomedian.com. That also will take you to where you need to go. So, yeah,
Yes.
go
Yes,
check out the
guys, grab a
dates and
show
see
with
some
Chris.
stuff.
It's absolutely amazing. He's got great dates coming up soon. So go to those websites, check him out, follow him on all socials because he is definitely someone to watch. Chris, thanks so much for being on today.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Yes. Okay. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.